Hey guys, Hopeless Hallow here, coming at you with another sudden death video. As a quick reminder, sudden death is a small little mini series where I go over various stories that I've had as a DM with my players. Today's story will be taking place just after they had beaten what they believe was the final boss of my lower level campaign, the king himself. So here's how I introduce the real final boss to them. The king, battered and beaten, dashes towards the two great doors at the end of the hallway. He swings the two doors wide open, and it leads into a very dark room. In that room, piercing through the darkness, is two yellow beady eyes. The creature's silhouette makes out a humanoid-like shape, a club in one hand with a shield in another. Its legs are sturdy, and with every step it takes, it makes a thud against the ground. The creature starts banging its club against the shield. Thud, 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 as it approaches. From out of the darkness appears to be what is almost like a tree, but also a person. Its yellow eyes seem friendly, but just as dangerous as any other monster. You are now facing the woodwode. The woodwode is a medium plant, although the picture would have it look like it's small, and the fact that it looks tree-like would make you think that it might be large too. But nope, it's medium, the in-between. It's a lawful neutral creature. It has a great armor class of 18, a decent HP of 75, a walking speed, and one of the best speeds in the game, climbing speed. It has an amazing strength, slightly better than average dex, a great con. Intelligence and wisdom are good. Its charisma is lackluster, but with the stats like those, I really don't mind. It has a +7 to athletics. Good luck trying to grapple it. +4 to perception, because every good monster needs that. And a +4 to stealth, which isn't amazing, but it'll get better. Trust me. It has damage vulnerability to fire. Well, duh, it's a plant. But it has a damage resistance of bludgeoning and piercing. Just bludgeoning and piercing. Doesn't matter if they're magical attacks or not. Just bludgeoning and piercing. It also has the condition immunities of being frightened and charmed, which is always nice. It has a dark vision of 60 feet. Perfect. Passive perception 14 from that +4 perception. That's pretty good. Language, Sylvian. Alright. It's a challenge rating 5 creature. Proficiency bonus 3, as seen by its perception and athletics skills. Its first ability, Magic Club. Its club attacks do an extra 3d4 extra damage. Plant Camouflage. Remember how it had a +4 to stealth? Well, guess what? It also has advantage on the said stealth checks that it makes in any terrain with ample obscuring plant life. It also has regeneration. The woodwode regains 10 hit points at the start of its turn if it's in contact with the ground. It doesn't do this if it's taken fire damage in the last turn. But here's the thing: most creatures only regenerate if they have at least 1 hit point or more. The woodwode doesn't do that. Your players can think that they've killed it, bringing it to 0 HP, only for it to rise with 10 HP yet again. This can go on infinitely unless your players have a source of fire damage, which is quite common, but if for some reason they don't, or maybe perhaps don't want to accidentally set the surrounding forest on fire, then this can be incredibly difficult, and they'll have to do other tricks up their sleeve, like maybe taking it up off the ground. Its other ability is Tree Stride. It can use 10 feet of its movement to step magically into a living tree within 5 feet of it, and emerge within a second one within 60 feet. Both trees must be large or bigger. Wow, that sounds like a perfect way of getting around in a forest. The woodwode has multi-attack, surprisingly, with a +7 to hit, and an average of 14 damage. This is a powerful creature, especially with crits. Its lore is pretty good too. Although not necessarily an active evil, it requires a willing sacrifice. Yay. Let's see. A living person's chest is pierced and the heart removed. But they are practically immortal, well, age-wise, and they are just protectors of forests and things. So they aren't actually evil in any sense. Just a bit of a grim way to summon one. But honestly, this makes a great mini-boss or final boss, because your players will have to think about how they're going to stop that regeneration ability, and just how they're going to deal with its incredible stats, HP, and armor class, as well as some very good skills. All right then. So, whatever happened to those players that ended up fighting him? Well, it actually ended up pretty well for them. The Woodwood didn't have anywhere it could hide because it was in the king's throne room, or anywhere to use tree stride, so it was honestly not at full power. But this is the first time that I've used this monster. Actually, scratch that. I'm dumb. It was, but it wasn't the only time, is what I meant to say. I used it in another campaign, and this destroyed my players. Granted, most of it was my luck, but what ended up happening is that they were actually in a forest-like terrain. So the Woodwood just randomly chose one of them and decided to start whacking him. The one that was gonna be hit was the rogue. So I did what any Woodwood would do. Walked up to it and smacked it. With a +7 to hit, both attacks hit, and it did some pretty heavy damage. One of them was actually a crit. The rogue quickly needed to escape, so he disengaged and climbed off of the tree that he was on. He really didn't expect the Woodwood to get up there, but it has a climbing speed, so unfortunate for him. So he disengaged and jumped off, and tried fleeing a bit. Unfortunately for him, the Woodwood can travel through trees. He went into the tree that he was currently climbing up and appeared next to a tree that was behind the rogue. Another 2 attacks. One of them was a critical hit, and it killed the rogue. The monk and paladin, who had been doing their best, quickly took the body of their buddy rogue and fled. There wasn't much they could do to this guy. The monk, although its stunning strike did trigger once, its high con meant that it wouldn't trigger that often. On top of it, the monk does constant bludgeoning damage. Magical or not, the Woodwood is resistant to it. The only one who could really stand up to it was the paladin. But unfortunately, he was the lowest level out of all of them. So they all ended up fleeing. Unfortunately, the rogue was dead. That was this story. Now for the second story for today. This story is about a little flame cult that was going to make an example out of a couple of nobles. The monsters in question, aka the cult members, were 2 internal flame guardians and an internal flame priest. But the guardian is really where I want to talk about today. The party consisted of a bard, and a fighter, and a paladin. So, what ended up happening was the bard led the eternal flame the eternal flame priest away and defeated it on his own, while the fighter and the paladin were left to deal with the two guardians. One of the guardians was literally 1 HP, and suddenly all of their rolls started to miss, allowing the guardian with his multi attack to get a few more hits in before he died. But the second guardian is really what I want to talk about. Because by the time they had gone to start hitting the second guardian, the bard had come back from finishing off the priest, and it was time for the guard's turn. The guard had low HP, and all of his buddies were dead. All the players were still up. Well, granted, one of them had been knocked down multiple times, and they even have to use a healing potion on him. But he was still up. It was not looking good for the Guardian. Then, the Guardian swung 2 times with his longsword. Double critical hits. They both crit. He did an insane 28 damage, almost knocking down the Paladin. Fortunately, of course, it was on the Paladin, the one with the most HP. And the Guardian was defeated shortly after. But if it had been any other player, it could have possibly killed them. That would be a day that we would all remember for a while. So yeah, those are my two stories for today. That's all for now. Bye.